There's a very good chance your favorite song from the 70s wasn't actually written by the person who sang it. In fact, it might have been written by a man who wasn't even listed on the front of the record. David Bowie possessed a rare, almost terrifying creative surplus. He wrote music at such a frantic pace that he simply couldn't keep it all for himself. Instead of hoarding his best melodies, he dropped them into the hands of friends, rival musicians, and struggling artists, then vanished before anyone realized he'd even been in the room. Most people think they know Bowie's catalog, but today we're uncovering the secret vault, 7 massive songs David Bowie gave away, and the wild stories of what happened once someone else took the microphone. Number 7. Silver Treetop School for Boys, The Beatstalkers. This song got passed around more than almost anything else Bowie ever wrote. London's The Riot Squad cut it first, back in 1967, when Bowie himself was still bouncing between bands and identities, years away from becoming David Bowie as the world would come to know him. Then the Fleur de Lis put out the first actual release. Then it landed with the Beatstalkers, 5 musicians out of Glasgow, and their version is the one that finally got the song noticed. Bowie even sang backing vocals on it himself, ghostwriting and ghost singing on his own composition at the same time. 3 different bands recorded this song inside a single year. That alone tells you something about how fast Bowie was writing at this point in his career, and how little he cared about holding on to any one version of a song once it left his hands. He was barely 20, unknown, and already treating songwriting like something to be scattered rather than hoarded, a habit that would define the next 2 decades of his career. Number 6. Over the Wall We Go, Paul Nicholas. Paul Nicholas is better known today for acting than for singing, but in the 60s he was performing under the name Oscar, and Oscar caught Bowie's attention. What came out of that connection was Over the Wall We Go, a track built with a stage musical sensibility that fit Nicholas perfectly. The song is about prison breaks, played almost as farce, complete with novelty sound effects, a strange little detour that shows just how playful and unserious Bowie could be before the weight of Ziggy Stardust and Major Tom settled onto his shoulders. Listen to it once, and you'll hear exactly whose fingerprints are on it. The melody, the theatrical swagger, the sense of a song performing itself. It's Bowie's writing filtered through someone else's voice. And it works precisely because he wrote it for that voice instead of his own. It's a reminder that long before he was a rock star, Bowie thought of himself as something closer to a performer for hire, someone who could write a character into a 3-minute single the same way he'd later write one into an entire album. Number 5. Oh You Pretty Things, Peter Noone. Most people know the Bowie version of this song. Almost nobody knows he wasn't the first to sing it. That honor belongs to Peter Noone, formerly of Herman's Hermits, who got a demo from Bowie in 1971 and said yes before he'd even finished listening. It's easy to see why. The song is catchy, strange, and built around the idea that humanity's children are already evolving past their parents. Heavy subject matter dressed up as a pop single. Noone's take gave the world something Bowie's own version never did. Bowie himself on piano and backing vocals, playing a supporting role on his own song. And Noone didn't just release it quietly. His version climbed to number 12 on the UK charts, a real hit in its own right, years before most listeners had any idea the man who wrote it would ever record it himself on Hunky Dory. For a while, more people knew Oh You Pretty Things as a Peter Noone song than as a Bowie song at all. Number 4. Growing Up and I'm Fine, Mick Ronson. Mick Ronson spent years as Bowie's guitarist, the backbone of the Spiders from Mars, standing just off to the side of the spotlight while Bowie became a legend in front of him. Ronson's guitar work is all over Ziggy Stardust and Aladdin Sane, and much of what people think of as Bowie's sound in that era is really Bowie and Ronson's sound together. When Ronson finally struck out on his own, Bowie repaid that loyalty the only way that mattered. He wrote for him. Growing Up and I'm Fine sounds like it could have slotted onto any Bowie record from that era. The melody, the phrasing, the whole shape of it screams Bowie even with someone else's name on the credit. A handful of other Ronson tracks get whispered about in the same breath, though those are harder to confirm, the kind of songwriting credits that get argued over in liner notes and message boards decades later. This one isn't in question, though. This one is Bowie, handed to the guitarist who'd spent years standing behind him, a quiet thank you set to music. Number 3. All the Young Dudes, Mott the Hoople. Say the name Mott the Hoople, and this is the song people think of. What most people don't know is how close the band came to never recording it at all. They were on the edge of breaking up. Some chart success behind them, but no money to show for it, and they'd already turned down the first song Bowie pitched them, a track called Suffragette City that Bowie ended up keeping for himself. Then Bowie sat down in front of them with a guitar and played All the Young Dudes himself. That was the moment everything changed. The band said yes on the spot, and the song became the biggest hit of their career, an anthem that's outlived nearly everything else they ever recorded. The one thing that kept them together long enough to matter. One acoustic performance in a room saved a band from folding, and it wasn't even Bowie's song to save with. There's a version of music history where Mott the Hoople simply breaks up in 1972, a footnote act remembered by a handful of collectors. Instead, they got a second life, a signature song, and a legacy that's outlasted most of their contemporaries, all because Bowie happened to have a spare anthem sitting around and decided it belonged to someone else. Number 2. The Iggy Pop songs. Bowie and Iggy Pop wrote and recorded so much together that picking one song to represent it would miss the point entirely. Their partnership started in Berlin in the mid-70s. Two artists, very different points in their careers, one trying to rebuild his life, and the other trying to escape the character he'd already become. In 1977 alone, Bowie handed Iggy a run of tracks: Fun Time, Fall in Love with Me, Tiny Girls, and Tonight. Buried in that batch was China Girl, a song that wouldn't become a household name until Bowie recorded his own version of it 6 years later and turned it into one of the defining hits of his solo career, complete with a music video that became almost as famous as the song itself. Bowie came back one more time in 1986 with Shades, closing out a creative partnership that spanned nearly a decade. Strip away the fame, and what's left is two artists constantly rewriting each other's careers, trading songs back and forth like neither one of them was keeping score. Iggy has said in interviews that without that partnership, he isn't sure his career survives the 70s at all. Number 1. Girls. Tina Turner. Two of the biggest names in music history linked up in 1986, and somehow the result never became the commercial hit you'd expect. That's not a knock on the song. It's fantastic, from the first note to the last. Bowie and Turner had crossed paths before, duets here and there over the years, including a memorable live performance together, but this was the only time the Thin White Duke and the Queen of Rock and Roll built a song together from the ground up. Bowie couldn't leave it alone either. A year after Turner's version came out, he released his own recording of the same song on Never Let Me Down. Two versions from two of the greatest voices to ever step in front of a microphone, and both of them are gone now. Listen to either one, and you're hearing something that can never happen again. What makes Girls stand out from everything else on this list is that it wasn't a favor. It wasn't Bowie tossing a spare song to a struggling friend or an up-and-coming act who needed a hit. Turner was already a legend by 1986, fully in the middle of her own comeback after Private Dancer, and Bowie was writing for someone who didn't need saving. That changes the shape of the collaboration entirely. This wasn't mentorship. It was two peers meeting in the middle, and the fact that neither version became a signature hit for either artist almost adds to the mystery of it. David Bowie spent his whole career reinventing himself in front of the world, But this list shows the reinventions nobody was watching, the songs he handed off, the careers he quietly rescued, the artists who became legends partly because Bowie decided their voice deserved the song more than his own did. Every name on this list owes him something, and most of the world never noticed. What's your favorite David Bowie song that he gave to someone else? Let us know in the comments below and subscribe for more stories like this one.